I am Reverend Amani Malaika, and I want to talk this month, for at least the next few weeks, about money and vocation and being rich and abundant and prosperity and all the words, right? What does that look like? How do we get in right vocation? Whether we're working for pay or we are staying at home and taking care of a family or we are retired, vocation is still very real for us. And what does any of this have to do with spiritual living?
Our relationship with money, our feelings about it, are where the spiritual work is. And the reason I say how we feel about it has a good measure of how we're doing in our spiritual life is, I don't care how woo-woo you are, and I know a bunch of us up in here woo-woo, me included. I don't care how strong your spiritual practices are. When you are in your feelings, in your process, doing the budget, paying the bills, cashing your checks, whatever that is, how you are feeling and whether or not you are in relationship with money as part of your spiritual life or if it's this separate thing over here, right? When I go to pay bills, I'm not praying. Right? When I'm looking at my budget, am I looking at it prayerfully? Can I do so in a place of that same feeling I feel when I'm singing love, love, love? Or is it this thing I set aside over here? And the reason why money inherently has nothing to do with anything. We literally make it up. It's entirely made up by us. The reason why you and I in this country and this culture have to look at it closely and honestly is because we live in a toxic capitalist society. So of course we have to look at our relationship with money. We have to look at our relationship with consumerism, our relationship with materialism, and we have to look at the ways that we have gotten out of alignment with our nature because money. It's a unique part of our spiritual life because here we are in this country at this time. Because literally bombs are killing babies right now because of money. So we can't separate ourselves from it. We can't consider it something as not God. Because what do we know about God and what does omnipresence really mean? God is never missing, present everywhere at all times, and omnipotent, powerful. So when you and I choose to get unconscious in certain places in our lives, we're choosing to separate ourselves from the divine. And the greatest cause of every ill that you suffer from, that this entire planet suffers from, is a result of separation. Period. So getting in right relationship with money is a big deal for you and I as Americans. So I want you to take a moment and think about a financial situation in your life right now. Something you want, something you feel like you need financially, something that feels out of alignment, something you're celebrating, something you would like to manifest more fully in your life financially. Bring one clear intention, thought, idea into the front of your mind right now. If you haven't seen the sermon that went out on YouTube today, we're talking about finances and vocation and money and career during the rest of this Conscious Living series, but I shared a definition of rich, which comes from Jen Sincero's book, You're a Badass at Making Money, which if you like a little modern take on metaphysics and manifesting money, that's a great book, I recommend it. But she defines rich as having all the money and resources you need to fully experience your authentic life. I can get behind that definition, yeah? Can you get behind that definition? Here's the rub, though. Even with whatever you just brought into being in your prayer, your authentic life depends on you knowing who you are authentically. Your authentic life, the richness that you most deeply long for, can only be met if you know who you are and what you want. Like, really, really. And if you, like me, and I believe all of us here for the most part, and most of you online, I know there's a few of you who were raised in other countries that I know of, but if you were raised in this country, there was a whole lot of information and outer noise telling you who to be and what to want. Right? What success looks like. What being a man or a woman and success looks like in that particular gender or body. And so, rich in this definition of what you need to live your most authentic life is not as simple as going, that's cute, shiny, and sparkly over there, I want that. Right? The last 42 commercials I saw on Netflix or whatever told me to want this new thing. And we are so programmed in ways that it's hard to even recognize. We are programmed with other people's wants and desires for us. And so the richness that I'm talking about, and that I believe Jen Sincero is talking about, begins with the willingness to get in really intimate, deep relationship with your nature, with your divinity, and to begin to let that rise in your being so that you can get into right relationship with what you actually want, with your deepest desires. That's the you that can sing money, 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 money with as much juice and joy and deliciousness and gusto as you sing love, 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 because you know there's no difference. That you that knows that the money is this great aspect of how you get to experience and express your wholeness and your holy, beautiful nature as an emanation of the Holy Blessed One. And just like this body of mine gets to carry me along the way, so does some dollars. And I get to be grateful for it all. But it starts here first. Ernest Holmes, I want to share a quote, the founder of Science of Mind, said that as the inner light dawns, it delivers the outer life from bondage. As the inner light dawns, it relieves the outer life from bondage. This is how your experience of abundance becomes synonymous with your experience of freedom. The thing that your nature most deeply longs for. And getting in right relationship with money is part of breaking free of bondage. So I'm going to ask you to take a moment with me. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel your back maybe against your chair, your bottom on your seat, and close your eyes if you're comfortable, or soften your gaze down if you're not, and deep breath. all the way down to your seat. And sigh out. On your next inhale, feel your breath raising up the front of your body, and on your exhale, feel the back of your body getting taller. And do that a couple more times. And notice the inner light that has been lit up in you all along. And imagine that inner light growing in brightness. Growing in its warmth. Filling your whole being with this soft and warm goodness. And as you feel into that, ask yourself again, what do I most want? What does this inner, lit up part of myself most want to experience in my life? And allow that vision, those words, that feeling to become so strong that you cannot deny it. And take a moment. Pat your thighs, bring yourself back into the space. Nice deep breaths. Now tell that same person you were sharing with what came up when you did it this way. We'll spend another minute or so sharing with one another. What did you most want? Is it the same thing that you wanted before? Is it something new? What did you notice? And show of hands, and those of you online, put it in the comments. Was it different? Yes? Absolutely? Okay, show of hands. Was it different? So for many of you, it was different. Yeah. Do you want to? Are you willing to share? Your face is so squished. No. But it was a big difference, yes? Yeah. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Because here's what I have discovered in my own unfolding, right? I was sharing in class. We started a new class yesterday, which was so fun. And I was sharing with them, like, I had this experience along the way in my life as I was in my own journey of spiritual living and deepening in my practice. But what began to happen is what I wanted and what I was finding delightful was really changing. And I was not into it. I was like, please, God, don't let me be one of those chicks who likes to hike. Like, please don't let that happen to me. And it super happened to me. I was like, what is going on? I was so far from my true nature that I was like, it put me in the bed. Like, I went to bed for a while. I was so discombobulated with what was changing in my desires as I got closer to my true nature. All the stuff that I thought I wanted, the way that I thought I wanted to live, the stuff that mattered most to me was really starting to change. I mean, you know, my family can even testify. They were like, you want a what? Say what? Gardening? You're gardening now? And I'm obsessed now. My kid would tell you now that I'm a, plantaholic. But me, 15 years ago, could not have envisioned that I would have felt rich with a really amazing garden. That I would feel fulfilled with a ton of alone time and somebody not up under me. I could not have known that had I not prioritized my inner life rather than my outer life. I may never would have experienced actual contentment, which is what I think we're really looking for when we say we want to be happy. Real fulfillment and satisfaction in my life. Instead of, if you're familiar with the concept of the hungry ghost, the segaki, which is the Buddhist word for it, right? And it's a Buddhist teaching and tale about the insatiable hunger of the hungry ghost, right? And its mouth is this big, giant mouth and this little, tiny skeleton body, and it cannot be satiated. When we try to fulfill that real longing with stuff from out here, with consuming and hoarding, it cannot be fulfilled. And we feel that, right? We feel that dissatisfaction. Sometimes it's this low-grade, discomfort in our lives, and we're not quite sure, so we just keep trying new things, and maybe more of that. Let me put a little bit more salt on it. Maybe then it'll satisfy me. But when we get into the work of spiritual living, conscious living, we have to start attending to the truth we discover, which is not always fun. I went full identity crisis, laid me out. I had to meet myself in all of the dishonesty that was there. All of the ways that I had internalized the programming of my life and been wrong about what I wanted, what was important to me. It was really uncomfortable, entirely worthwhile, but really uncomfortable, really inconvenient. But if we're really looking for rich, if we're really looking for that experience of affluence and luxury, the real definition of affluence is abundant flow. To be in flow. And your true holy nature, that inner light in you, that spark of the divine that knows that it knows that it knows, is the only thing that can take you into that experience. But we have to be willing to turn within and sit in that stuff and be wrong. To sit in the not knowing. There's a lot of us, I'm a huge fan of the Enneagram, and so I'm an Enneagram 2 as part of my nature. And the Enneagram 2, one of the things the Enneagram 2 does when they're unhealthy, really unhealthy, is they have zero relationship with their own needs, and they're deeply identified with everybody else's. And I'm really good at telling y'all exactly what you should be doing. I will be the first to weigh in on it if you ask me. Sometimes if you don't. But one of the shadows of that is that I don't always know what I need because I've been too busy out here with y'all. And so part of my spiritual practice is having to spend real time with myself without any outer distractions and connecting and getting intimate with my own needs. Any women in here know what I'm talking about? If you've been socialized and raised in this country? This is conscious living. This is how you get in right relationship with money, because then it's not about money at all. It's like, oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and then this is what that costs. It's just math. There's no urgency. There's no freaking out. It's just like, oh, I do this now. Plants cost this much money. And it just becomes part of the flow, because my true nature moves with ease. No longer identified and moved by all that outer noise and chaos. Yes? So how? How do we do this work of getting into deeper relationship with our own inner life and money? Well, I broke it down into 3 simple steps so that you could just leave here and be like, I got it. This is what I'm doing. You are going to step out, get off, and go in. Step out. So you got to step out of the BS, right? You got to step out of the circumstances. You have to go off grid. Turn off the screens, turn off the things, get offline. Get off of all of the things that are the noise in your particular life. And then you spend some time inside. And before you make any decisions financially, I want you to do that. Get out of the distractive environments, get out of relationships, even if they're in your own house. If you're living with somebody who's freaking out and terrified about money, you are going to shh them for a few minutes. And you are going to go within before you start to make some decisions about what you're doing financially. And see how that begins to shift your relationship with it. See if it has you prioritize some things very differently in your budget. Deal? We doing homework?
So, if you're comfortable, close your eyes. In our city, our beautiful city, we have Balloon Fiesta, Greek festival, and so many things going on. And all the things that are going on in our own hearts. And I know that that is all the one source expressing. The one source that is love and peace and communion and joy. The one source that is love. And I am so grateful to be a part of this, to belong. I am so grateful to be aware that I belong to this life. And I am grateful that each of you belong to this life. We belong together in this life. And it is with deep gratitude that I give thanks for our coming together, for our wanting to be here with each other, to celebrate our oneness, our care for each other. And I know that our service unfolds beautifully. And together we say, and so it is.